Touchdown! Snap, placement, kick. Uh-oh! He missed it! He missed it left!
For the touchdown! Baltimore is heading to New Orleans.
Very familiar foes. Baltimore beat them twice last year, including the right to go on to the Super Bowl in New Orleans. And the Ravens come into this game on a streak. They won 4 in a row.
Yeah, you look at these two teams, and they look across the line of scrimmage, they see themselves. They're both competitive, they're tough, they know how to play each other. It's going to be an exciting game.
So, again, the Ravens will be kicking away to Shane Vereen. It's unseasonably warm for sure. 64, we actually hit 70 at one point today. And Tucker, the hero last week, delivers it to Vereen at the goal line. And he's going straight ahead and now cutting outside and dragged down by Brown at the 22. Tom Brady, just a half hour ago, saw his single-season touchdown mark broken by Peyton Manning. He got number 51 down in the game in Houston in the Broncos' victory. But quite a season as Brady has pulled out a number of games at the end with a team decimated by injury, including today starting Logan Mankins at left tackle. Just the second time in his career he starts at left tackle. In for Nate Solder, who is out after head injuries the last 2 weeks. And straight ahead they go with Blunt. And he's got a 5-yard gain right into the arms of Arthur Jones. We'll have a matchup of the Jones brothers today. Chandler and Arthur on the defensive fronts for each side. Third time the siblings have been in the game together. Suggs has had some history, good history against the Patriots. And Matt Elam, the rookie out of Florida, saved the game last week with the clinching interception at Detroit on Monday night. Double tight end formation here for New England on 2nd and 5. And this time met at the line of scrimmage by, again, Arthur Jones, and he had a bow. No gain for Blunt.
This defensive front for the Baltimore Ravens is so big, one of the best in the NFL when it comes to stopping the run. And this Patriots offense, what's the big key for them today? I think it's this. Tom Brady makes sure the interior offensive line doesn't get pushed around and get in his way as he tries to throw it down the field.
Aaron Dobson, who's been out the last couple of games with injury, is active today and in on this play. It's a bigger target for him, the rookie from Marshall, and it's a 3rd and 5. As Brady looks, and the pass influenced by the pressure. He was trying to find Edelman, and it's a 3 and out for New England to begin.
Yeah, they catch you by surprise, this Ravens defense. They do a lot. It's only a 3-man rush, first pass of the game. Tom Brady steps up, but that extra defensive back really came in handy last week for the Baltimore Ravens. Great job against Matt Stafford, and a good start here against Tom Brady.
Jacoby Jones will be returning the punt here, the left-footed Ryan Allen. And flags are out as he backtracks to the 12. Gets away from Slater, but Slater catches up to him. Brings him down at the 31, but we'll check the flag. Ron Winter and his crew here at Baltimore today. And they have some history, actually, in this rivalry between the Ravens and the Patriots. Winter's presided over a couple of them.
Well, and he knows there's going to be a lot of contact.
That was a 60-yard punt by Ryan Allen. He's going to be against the Ravens here on the return. Bill Belichick, John Harbaugh, tremendous respect for these two coaches, one another.
Personal foul, number 22, receiving team. Went out of bounds, blocked the kicking team player. After distance to the goal, first down.
Hold on, Jimmy Smith. So, Joe Flacco, we're going to be paying close attention to that left knee, which was injured late in the game against Detroit. An MCL sprain. What they said, it was MRI'd. He's going to be wearing a brace today, similar to what he had to go through his junior year at Delaware. He wore a brace that year when he had a sprained knee, again an MCL sprain. And watching him in practice on Friday, you thought it was pretty tough going for him.
Yeah, you know, it would worry me. When I saw him in practice, he did have the brace on. It was Friday. He threw the ball very well, but didn't move around. I know he was very well. I thought he was trying to protect it. I understand during warm-ups, looked much better than he did on Friday.
Comes out with 6 offensive linemen. Wagner is the 6th. And they run it with Rice, and it's a good game. This has been something that's been problematic for the Ravens this season. It's getting that ground game going, but that picks up 5 to begin. Eugene Monroe picked up in the season in a trade with Jacksonville. Good move. Shipley and Gronkowski played well, pointed out to us by Coach Harbaugh in the win against the Lions. And Rice averaging just about 3 yards a carry. That's it. It's the 29th ranked rush offense in the league, overall 29th. And Flacco, play action with time and airing it out. Wide open, Torrey Smith, and he can't hold on. I tell you, as he waited for it, McCourty made up some ground and came over and got a hand on it also.
That's exactly right. That's one throw. If he really steps into this and drives the football down the field, he's got Torrey Smith wide open. Nice double move to the outside. And look how far the safety had to come.
Do you think that is un-Flacco like that throw you just saw?
Yes, I listen, I didn't think he stepped through it. He lobbed it in the air. It hung in the air longer than that pass would have called for. And that shows the left knee following through. That's when it's going to bother you.
3rd and 5, and Flacco just dumps it off incomplete. Rice unable to hold on as Arrington was closing in on him.
Now, you know, you got to get used to this, Jim. Your left knee, how it feels. It's one thing to practice, but when you get in this game, when they can hit you, everything changes. So getting comfortable with it, learning to deal with it, and more of all, to trust his offensive line, the pass protection, and throwing the football just to let it go.
Edelman back. Each team failing to convert on a 3rd and 5. And they match 3 and outs. Kick, their catch, 35-yard line. 53-yard punt. So Flacco at first pass. Bill Felt was influenced by the knee. Patriots Ravens. Patriots having earlier today clinched the AFC East with the Dolphin loss. Division champions for the 5th consecutive year. However, meaningful game still for them. Trying to stay on the heels of Denver for the 1 seed. Here's play action. And the pass, well, on the back of the defender there, Webb, is ruled incomplete.
Well, Jim, let's go back and look at Joe Flacco throw that last pass down the field. It was off target a little bit, talked about it, didn't quite have I thought he could have just driven this football on a line. You can tell it felt, he turned on his left leg, which is a big thing. But the throw went way inside, and look, I'm being pretty harsh, probably saying he could have thrown it harder, way down the field, but it was off target.
You don't see him underthrow receivers very often. 2nd and 10, and it is Blount making a nice cut that will yield a first down and a gain of 14 at midfield. No, had he really ripped it, it could have been a touchdown.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
he had big-time separation.
But watch this here. All the defense, Suggs goes down inside, and the linebacker, and everybody over pursues. Nice cutback that time by Blount.
And by the way, as we keep trying to restate, after all of the shifting around in the 1 o'clock games, not only trying to stay on the heels of Denver, but also the Patriots trying to stay in the 2 position ahead of Cincinnati and Indianapolis and get a first-round bye. So the Patriots with a first down, the first one earned in this game from the 50, Vereen. He's got 3. Tom Brady, we've talked about him in the past and what he's done with these comebacks this year. That division title today locked up is his 11th division title. That's the most ever
They
by
thought
a player,
it would be
by a quarterback.
Pretty special to win it because everything that's happened to this football team with the offense, the receiving core, makeshift offensive line today, and maybe your 2 best defensive players out.
2nd, we'll call it 6, and Vereen stutter step and trying to cut back. And he is ridden down by McClain after a couple.
This Baltimore defense, I said they are big. They don't take a lot of chances. They try not to give up those big plays. That's why they improved so much these last few weeks. A lot of new starters. They've done a good job getting this defense in shape.
Officials call timeout as Darrell Smith is down on a knee.
The NFL NFL on CBS is sponsored by Southwest Airlines. Find our fares online only at southwest.com. K Jewelers, the #1 jewelry store in America. Every kiss begins with K. And by AT&T. Rethink possible.
So Darrell Smith trying to walk it off on the sideline. Patriots facing a 3rd down. Third and 4. And Brady has the time to find an open target. And it's Ho'o Manawanui for the first. And a gain of 9.
Good job of this offensive line. It is a blitz, and it's really well timed. Watch the blitzer Miles comes full speed. What a pickup by the center. And Tom Brady stepped up in the pocket and found the tight end wide open.
First completion of the game for either quarterback. 3 Super Bowl MVPs on site today with Brady, Flacco, and Sims. 1st and 10, and Brady going toward the end zone, and Edelman bump bodies there with Jimmy Smith, and it draws the flag.
Pass interference. Because number 2. Because the
Second penalty of the game on Jimmy Smith, who was called on the infraction on the punt return earlier.
Trying to go for the big play. That's what the Patriots want to do, and there's where they threw the flag. That little turn. Jimmy Smith was in perfect position. Edelman turns outside, and that little push is what they saw. Tough call against Jimmy Smith.
And it sets him up at the 1. A 34-yard penalty. Brady hands it to Blunt straight ahead, and he crosses the plane for the touchdown. LeGarrette Blunt.
Blunt, big running back, power, likes to go inside. Really nothing there, but he's just so big. He drives in there and gets that yard. But that drive, it's all about the pass interference call. The Patriots worried about their red zone offense because they don't have that weapon anymore down there looking for big plays. That's why they went down the field to Julian Edelman.
So 1 penalty on Smith pinned Baltimore back deep. Ended up setting up New England in good field position. And then, of course, he got called for the interference. Put the ball on the 1. Led to the touchdown. Just the second first-quarter touchdown by the Patriots in the last 5 games. They're not happy about it here in Baltimore. That interference call. Flacco and the Ravens down 7 early. Fantasy football fans, keep the excitement going all postseason with Playoff Challenge. Now with even bigger cash prizes at cbssports.com/challenge.
Well, this crowd still murmuring, rumbling, whatever, because they're still mad about the pass interference call. An adjustment by Edelman. No way he can get to the throw. Like I said before, a very tough call against Jimmy Smith.
And Gostowski drills it through the back of the end zone. Well, this New England defense, it's had some highs like shutting down Jimmy Graham, but giving up some huge yardage totals along the way to other players you wouldn't expect. Chandler Jones, 11.5 sacks. J.B. Collins, a rookie from Southern Mississippi, is coming on strong. And Talib always draws the top receiver on the other side. Bill Belichick returning to his home area, raised up the way in Annapolis, and of course began his NFL coaching career as a special assistant to Ted Marchibroda in '75. The Baltimore Colts earning $25 a week. Here's Flacco on first down. Pumps it underneath to Pierce for 9. Now, we were talking about Flacco dealing with a strained MCL in college at Delaware, his junior year. It was clunky. It was uncomfortable. He talked to him about it. He hated it.
But as you saw him run that time, I thought when I watched some plays of that game, he looked pretty mobile with that brace on. But you will notice, I think they'll put him in the shotgun a lot more today. Of course, when he's throwing it and the run game also.
2nd and 1. Pierce, who just caught the last one for 9, picks up 2 for the first.
And you put him in that shotgun just to take pressure off the knee, Jim, just so it doesn't tire out faster, where it can become a problem later in the game. And nowadays in the NFL, everybody can run most of their run plays from the shotgun with the quarterback.
When we talk about New England and what's on the line for the Patriots, Ravens, if they go win-win today and next week at Cincinnati, would win the division. A loss today would give the Bengals the North. A loss here would not eliminate them from the wild card, but there are all kinds of scenarios, some you haven't probably even thought of. As Flacco fires in, and it should have been intercepted, and it is on the rebound, off the hands of Hightower, and then lands in Logan Ryan's arms for the pick. What did you see here, Phil?
He had him open, just didn't have the touch to put it over the top of the linebacker and drop it into Jacoby Jones.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Aflac. When you're sick or hurt, Aflac pays you cash. Find out more at aflac.com. And by Chevrolet. Find new roads.
We're back, and good starting point here for New England. Flacco just intercepted by rookie Logan Ryan. And Darryl Smith, who's the defensive signal caller for the Ravens, is back out there for missing a play or two. And it's Ridley tripped up after 2.
Well, Jim, let's look at this interception. Jacoby Jones coming all the way across the field. Torrey Smith's going to clean it out. And by NFL standards, this is really just pitch and catch. Joe Flacco would usually get over top of the linebacker and put it right on the target. When you watch the technique, it all looks good. Very tight, nice coil, everything, but just misjudges the touch on the football. And again, not going to overstate it, but it could be just getting used to that brace.
We saw Smith back in there. 2nd and 8. Brady. All kinds of time, and there's a flag in the secondary again, as Webb was the defender on Edelman.
I'll guarantee you before the game,
Illegal contact. Defense number 21.
before the game, this officiating crew, I know they heard it from every coach. Top of your screen, little double move going for it, and that's an illegal chuck right there down the field. That's why they threw it. That was a good call. But the Patriots said to make it known that the Baltimore Ravens, the defensive backs, hold more than any defensive backfield in the NFL. Now, I'm going to tell you this. We hear that every week about every team.
5-yard penalty and an automatic first. Chugging ahead is Ridley for 7.
But that time, Ladarius Webb was fooled by the double move, and he did the right thing because it probably prevented a touchdown.
Patriots inside the 40, and a 2nd and 3. Ridley dropped back for a loss of 1.
It's Arthur Jones. He has turned into some player. He was a good player before, but this year, 97 comes all the way across. How about that? He's just, when you look at him, he's still a big man, of course, and even the Patriots talked about it. He's just in better shape, able to play harder, play longer, and he's the big surprise of this Baltimore defense this year.
3rd and 5 at the 40. As Brady zips it. Amendola has it inside the 10 and finally tripped up at the 6. Caught it, escaped Ihedibo, and takes off for 34.
Yeah, Amendola, how about it? college quarterback, goes up the field, these bunch routes, 2 people followed 1 receiver, nobody had Amendola. So they got fooled. That's what happens when you play man-to-man coverage and you put 3 receivers in 1 bunch. You got to make sure everybody knows who's covering who. And that time, the Ravens made a mistake.
Amendola coming off a big game down at Miami, 10 catches and 131 yards. Devlin to the backfield. Shotgun time on 1st and goal with the 6. And a timeout.
Well, you see the Patriots, they do a lot of that stuff what we just saw, Jim. They like to get all the receivers together now. Why? Because they got a lot of small guys. And when you have small receivers, if it becomes a physical battle at the line of scrimmage, they're going to lose. So make the defensive backs back off. We heard that last night from Tom Brady. They need to give the receivers space and a chance to get moving down the field. Then they think they have a good chance.
Struggled last week in the red zone down at Miami.
Tom Brady upset. Well, maybe he's mad at the coach because he got the play in just a little too late. When you won 3 Super Bowls, you can yell at the coach every once in a while.
Just 1 touchdown last week in 4 red zone trips. They had a 15 and a 16-play drive that ended up at this part of the field with short field goals.
Yeah, but hard to run the football against the Ravens down here because they crowd the line of scrimmage. They make you throw it. They got big defensive backs against small receivers.
4th best defense in the league in the red zone. 1st and goal. And Ridley hopping around and takes it to about the 3.
So saying all this, of course they didn't give us any details last night, but I think the Patriots have a lot of stuff up their sleeve. In other words, ways to get guys singled up that they can make plays a little easier. No Gronkowski for the jump ball, no big tall receiver on the outside to throw the fade to in the corners. Got to find a different way.
They've got Devlin split wide to the right. Vereen in the backfield. Amendola and Edelman to the left. 2nd and goal. And out of the backfield, Vereen is across for the touchdown from Brady.
And that's one way to get it done. What you do, they bring Vereen out of the backfield, and as he comes out of the backfield and goes, it happens so quick, and he gets like a moving pick. So by the time the defense, look at that, can't get outside, Tom Brady catches it, throws it right away. The play was designed to throw it to Vereen, and they got him wide open.
Vereen, who missed the bulk of the season with a wrist injury, since his return has given them almost 100 yards of offense a game. And a big-time target for Brady out of the backfield.
Pretty amazing, isn't it? They reformed this offense to Amendola, Edelman, and Shane Vereen. From last year, it was Hernandez, Gronkowski, and Wes Welker. Do it on the fly, and they make it work.
Gostowski right down the middle to make it 14-0. 2 touchdowns in less than 5 minutes. The second one set up by the interception. And then it's Brady to Vereen. 14-0. It's been at times a very slow starting New England team. Only 1 first quarter touchdown, as I mentioned, in the previous 5 games. And now they have a couple here already in this one. You'll have to re-tee it. Ball blows off the tee.
Well, making that play on the defensive side, that's always a good way to get it going. Short field, 2 big pass interference calls against the Ravens defense. Going to have to adjust their game and be ready and show more respect to these wide receivers.
And Gostowski is going to have a 2nd straight touchback. You know, Flacco and Brady, I mentioned both, of course, Super Bowl MVPs. Brady's twice been honored with that, but in their head-to-head matchups, 3-3, 3 wins each. And this is the only team in the league where Brady has thrown more interceptions than touchdown passes. Meanwhile, Flacco's numbers, 3-to-1 ratio touchdowns.
They're terrific, no doubt. Probably the first graphic we've ever shown of Tom Brady where the other quarterbacks got better numbers than him.
That's true. Just the 7th snap for the Ravens. And it's Rice for about 7.
Look at those numbers today. 1 of 4 for Joe Flacco. Just get him in the flow of the game. Give him some easy throws. This Ravens offense, they're not looking for singles. They look for home runs. Think of the 2 passes he missed down the field. Both about 30 yards to 40 yards down the field. Get the receivers involved. Get the quarterback some confidence.
2nd and 3. And they run it twice and pick up a first down again with Rice. John Harbaugh, like Bill Belichick, big special teams background. Both, of course, sons of coaches. Tremendous respect they have for one another. In fact, Belichick, on one point this week, talking about how he thinks he'd be really close friends with John Harbaugh if they weren't such rivals.
Yeah, if they weren't playing each other all the time to go to the Super Bowl. But we get dissertations on special teams plays from both of them. That's their roots, where their roots are.
Oh, Flacco threw that one closer to the Patriots than he did to his receiver on that occasion, Torrey Smith. Thursday on CBS, get ready for 3 times the laughs with the Millers Marathon. Will Arnett, Margot Martindale, and Bo Bridges, the TV's #1 new comedy, The Millers, right after The Big Bang Theory, Thursday on CBS. And as Pierce reversing field. Now, able to make a positive play out of it and pick up about 5, maybe 6.
Really good job by Pierce. Cannot get outside. The forces him deep. Watch Kyle Arrington, 25, just gets in there, gets Michael Orr, reverses field. And I'll tell you, when you look at Bernard Pierce, Jim Caldwell, the offensive coordinator, said they were warming up one day. He heard this sound go behind him like the ground was shaking. He turned around, and it was Bernard Pierce just running. He runs heavy, puts that foot in the ground, hard to tackle.
3rd and 5. Flacco, oh, look at he tripped on his own. And you were wondering about the mobility. Some people were saying, well, that's not something you have to worry about with Flacco. You say to the contrary.
Oh, he's very we saw it last week or Monday night against Detroit. We saw it in the Super Bowl. This guy moves around very well. Just got his foot caught in the turf there. I think it's the left foot too, Jim. But he moves around, picks up first downs running, and he's really moving to look to throw it deep down the field.
Got a flag out. And it's going to be against the Ravens for 5.
That's what I talked about.
False start. Offense number 56. A 5-yard penalty. Remains 4th down.
In the pregame show, I said some things about it. That's just an unknown thing that Joe Flacco does that people give him no credit for. Can stand in there under pressure, but also really athletic, moves around very well, and really doesn't get the credit he deserves for it.
And again, may be the case of getting used to that clunky brace.
No question.
4th and 16, Cook back at the 10. Not a lot of hang time. Edelman at the 25. Escapes Shockey Brown and steps out at the 36. 50-yard punt, 11-yard run back. Here he is now. Wait on that. Well, he never really did plant the left foot.
He went to put his left foot on the ground and missed it. That's why he fell.
Joe Flacco's a pretty cool guy, but never seems to be that rattled. But there's an intensity there most people don't know. Look at him pulling his hair out here.
Man, I do that myself sometimes. I'm afraid too much would come out. But yeah, he's upset. I don't blame him. And like I said, he's got to adapt to the situation. So many guys in this league, they play nicked up. I think he will.
Play action, and the pass to Edelman, and he's drilled but holds on at the 47 of the Ravens. Pushed back by Hedebo, but a good game.
Yeah, they're really doing a good look at that. The tandem going off at the same time. It made the defensive back stay off. And Tom Brady last week against the Miami Dolphins, and already here today, that's the 3rd time. Play action fake, throw it over the middle to these wide receivers.
17-yard pickup. Edelman coming off his career game against Miami, and it's Blount getting past the line and rumbles for 11 and a first down at the 36.
That's a good word for it, rumbles. This is what his role is. If there's nothing there, give me a yard. And don't avoid contact, he doesn't. That's the way he played in college. It's the way he started out with the Tennessee Titans in preseason, his rookie year, and he's continued.
This time behind the line, they get Blunt. It's Suggs.
Well, Terrell Suggs, not many sacks here of late, but very strong at the point of attack. In other words, he can hold his position with the best of them. That time he fooled Marcus Cannon, went inside, made a big stop. Here we are in the first quarter. 14-0. They need to stand it right here and take away the field goal attempt.
2nd and 13. And flags are out as they continue to play down the sideline and over the head of Vereen. Vereen, though, pulled up on that pass play.
He's had hamstring issues. I'm not saying this is, but he pulled up pretty quick going down the sideline.
Illegal shift. The penalties declined. Makes it 3rd down.
So they bring in Brandon Bolden as a running back. Vereen stays on that sideline. We haven't seen much of Elvis Dumerville on that Ravens defense, but he comes in for this 3rd and 13.
I think you got to be aggressive on the defensive side to keep them out of field goal range.
One screen to Bolden, and Bolden shakes a tackler and is near the first, going to be about a yard shy at the 27.
Jim, they're a great screen team. Watch this. He's going to fake the screen to the wide receiver to the left, and then he come back to the right. And look at all the offensive linemen. That's the one thing you notice when you watch the Patriots. When they throw a screen, the whole side of the line gets down the field, and they throw those bodies around.
12-yard gain is a yard short of the first. So it'll be a field goal try when the second quarter commences. Through 1, 14-0 New England. And you're watching the NFL on CBS. We're back to start the second quarter. It's been a rough start for Flacco and the Ravens. And it's going to be a field goal attempt from Gostowski on this first snap of the quarter. Allen on the hold. It'll be 45 yards. Gostowski, 32 of 35 on the year. And the kick by Gostowski is good. And that put him over 1,000 career points. What would that make? 1,001 it is for Gostowski, who makes it 17-0 New England. You look at the AFC playoff picture, and you see on the right-hand column, in the hunt, okay? Believe it or not, San Diego and even Pittsburgh, there are still scenarios for those teams if the Ravens lose here today, where they still are alive. And again, New England's won the East. Denver locked up the West. The Patriots trying to stay ahead of Cincinnati and trying to earn that first-round bye. Kansas City lost today. Convincing win by the Colts, and the Chiefs are locked in as the 5 come playoff time. Jacoby Jones will run this one out. Jones races to about the 21. 28-yard run back.
Well, a lot of errors so far for this Baltimore Ravens team. Pass interference against Jimmy Smith. That's, like we said, tough call. Blunt gets the touchdown. Then the underthrow by Joe Flacco. And a nice catch by Shane Vereen for the touchdown, too. But the opportunities, as I sit here and watch, they are there for this Ravens offense. They just got to settle in and start making those plays.
It's Pierce. As again, they alternate Pierce and Rice. He's got 5.
You look at this Patriots defense now. They're second to the worst in the NFL against the run, 18th against the pass, 24th overall. But then the statistic that really counts, that all these other ones mean nothing, they are 10th in points allowed. So they'll give some yardage, but they tighten up when they need to.
2nd and 5. Back to Pierce. Tripped up. Grabbed right away by Spikes by the ankles.
When you look at this Patriots defense also, Jim, yeah, they play a 4-3, a 3-4, but really it's 7 defensive linemen. Spikes being one of them, Hightower the other. And these guys are huge and they're good. They can take on blockers and get in the backfield like Spikes did that time and tackle the runner.
Dennis Pitta comes in, lined up just off the right side of the line of scrimmage. Flacco's favorite target, 3rd and 7. Flacco has it to Pierce, got the first. Takes it to about the 40. Andre Carter was in on Flacco, but he was able to get it away in time for a gain of 15.
Good read by the Ravens and the play call. Joe Flacco knew all along he was waiting for Pierce to sneak out of the backfield. He's never looking downfield. He saw the blitz. Pierce went up to the line of scrimmage like he was blocking, snuck out, and big first down.
Just the 3rd one for the Ravens. Pierce. And he is stood up by Brandon Spikes.
Well, Spikes he's healthy looking today. He wobbled around a little last week against Miami. I thought his knee was bothering him a little bit. But not often you can say this about a linebacker who really is in there to tackle, that he's a force. And he can make hits that wins football games. He can make you fumble. I've seen him knock offensive linemen down into runners and cause fumbles also.
Yeah, vicious hitter. 2nd and 8. Play action. Flacco. Nothing wrong with that pass except no one but McCourty in the area. That's the kind of throw he needed on that one early in the game when he had Smith running alone, but he overthrew that time Jacoby Jones.
Yeah, it's a terrible decision. It is. And look, there's no reason to throw this football down the middle. The whole time, the safety is in good position. McCourty just, you know what happened there? It was so long and so high that he kind of lost his judgment on it, and that's why he dropped it, I think.
Flacco 2 out of 7. Just 2 little dump-off completions for 24 yards and a pick. 3rd and 8. Pressure. Arrington. Arrington takes him down.
Well, just not a good adjustment when it comes to blocking. Arrington comes from the outside. You've got enough guys to pick it up. They make another mistake. And Joe Flacco has no chance of getting away. Even if he was healthy, he's not getting away that time.
A loss of 7. And the Ravens again will punt. 2nd sack in the books for the Patriots defense. The Ravens have still not entered New England territory. And ball out of bounds, caught by Edelman. And they'll place it somewhere close to the 20. 11 total net passing yards by the Ravens in this game, and it's 17-0 New England. Back here in Baltimore, and this is, I still believe, a very underrated place to come in here and play as an opponent. The Ravens are 6-1. Great fans here. Only Green Bay won a game at Baltimore this year. They give up only 14 a game at home, already yielding 17. And Ridley has it for a pickup of 5.
See number 70 there, Logan Mankins. We just got to talk about him for a second because of what he did last week in Miami. The heat, all the plays, left guard, he was terrific. Then they put him at left tackle like he is today, Jim, and he was absolutely outstanding. Just tough as can be, and one of the best games I've watched an offensive lineman play all year.
Of course, he played left tackle some in college at Fresno State a lot.
Yeah. So they weren't worried about putting him out there, and last week I see why. Timeout
called by the Ravens. Yeah, when Mankins was drafted in the 1st round, they had Matt Light. They were solid at left tackle.
I think.
And then they went out and drafted Nate Solder as a 1st rounder out of Colorado. So Mankins has been settled in at that left guard and have been a Pro Bowler almost every year.
You know, they've told us he can play all 5 positions on the offensive line, and that's kind of a an earmark for this team. All the linemen are versatile. They can switch positions. They know that. So it's not a big deal when they get guys hurt. Most offensive lines, somebody gets hurt, they fall apart.
There you see Tyrod Taylor, who is Flacco's backup, having a word with the starter. And
yeah. And if you're thinking, oh, they might put him in, think again. That's not going to happen until this game completely gets out of hand.
2nd and 5. Brady thought about going deep. Instead, takes what he can with Edelman across the middle for another first down.
Yeah, nice catch by Julian Edelman, but how about the protection? We heard it last night. Keep everybody away from him in front. And look at the pocket. Can't see anybody there. And it took Tom Brady a long time to finally find Edelman, and a nice throw and catch.
Ridley. Nata has him. Holds him to 2. Tonight on 60 Minutes, they aren't even out of middle school, and they're already being recruited to be Division I college quarterbacks because they're working with a quarterback guru. And you'll see that story tonight on 60 Minutes. And there's the yardage. Just 41 for the Ravens. You're the quarterback guru. You should be on 60 Minutes tonight. 2nd and 8. And Edelman. The flag out.
Illegal use of hands to the face. 87. 5-yard penalty. First down.
On Arthur Jones. Nothing going right for the Ravens.
No, nothing going right. You just got to keep doing your job and don't get frustrated. Long way to go in the game. 97, there he is, Josh Klein. Jones had his hands to the face mask.
Battling with the rookie from Kent State, who starts at left guard today with the shift of Mankins over to left tackle. Gives the Patriots first down at the 40. Ball batted in the air and incomplete. Nada was the one who deflected it.
Well, they're doing so many things on the offensive side, stacking receivers. They put Shane Vereen in motion that's given this defense problems. There's really no outstanding edge rusher on this Baltimore defense. So they either got to push the pocket or you got to read the quarterback, and they do knock down their share of passes.
2nd and 10. Bolden comes back alongside Brady as Vereen stays out. It's the draw play to Bolden. And he's got 6. They're saying from the sideline that the injury to Vereen is a groin injury. Questionable to return.
Yeah, it's a big deal. They were hoping to get him singled up against some of these big linebackers that the Ravens have. But you look at this New England offense, there's about 5 different offenses they can use. So when you're on the defensive side, what are you going to see? It changes from series to series.
Third and 4. Baltimore needs a stop. Flag. And play is stopped with the false start.
Offense number 61. But remains third down.
That last play kind of illustrates how New England looks at this Baltimore defense. They spread everybody out, 5 receivers, no extra protection really for Tom Brady, because I just don't think they fear the outside pass rushers right now, the Baltimore Ravens.
Aaron Dobson is split to the right. He gives them a little size on the outside. 3rd and 9. Trips to the left. And a blitz. Brady, trouble, flags out. Brady goes down near the 30. Smith got to him, as did Upshaw.
Defense. 5-yard penalty and a first down.
You thought this crowd was worked up before. That'll take the sack off the board. It'll give the Patriots the first down. And now after making the call, 4 officials are summiting.
Well, where the flag was thrown, they're saying it was holding by a defensive lineman.
There's no foul on the play. There is no foul on the play. The quarterback was sacked. Makes it 4th down.
There you go.
Well, appreciate the explanation because we couldn't hear before who it was called on. And what you're doing on the defensive side is not working. And that was a good time for a blitz by the defensive coordinator, Dean Pease. And after so many calls going against him, John Harbaugh is getting tired of yelling at the officials.
First punt traveled 60 yards for Allen. Oh, he had pressure. Out of the way just in time. Kobe Jones, and what an open field tackle it is by Slater after a 59-yard punt.
NFL on CBS is sponsored by Universal Pictures Ride Along, starring Ice Cube and Kevin Hart, in theaters January 17th. T-Mobile, unleash. And by Domino's. Visit Domino's.com.
The beautiful Inner Harbor area here of Baltimore, and this man's got a busy week ahead. Jim Nance, Phil Simms here in Baltimore. The Ravens still have not started in any better position than their own 21. This time at the 10. As Pierce pushed back after 2. You talk about one of the unsung heroes for the Patriots. Doesn't get, it's the little things that make a difference. Matthew Slater, who's better at coverage, kick coverage in the league than this guy?
Nobody. And how about that? We're talking about defensive backs chasing him, pulls away, full speed, and makes the tackle. We see it every single week. One of the best, if not the best, in the NFL.
2nd and 8. Flacco throws and this time connects. He's got Ed Dixon for a first down near the 30.
Well, you need confidence in this game. Maybe that'll give it to this offense, the play caller, Jim Caldwell, and Joe Flacco. Got enough time to make the throw? Nice catch by Ed Dixon. Since Dennis Pitta has been hurt, Ed Dixon's become a much better receiving tight end.
Hightower was in on the hit of Dixon, and he needs some attention. We'll be right back. Dante Hightower to the sideline, but he walked up rather briskly to the sideline. Looks like he might be okay. After just 11 net passing yards, they picked up 17 on the previous play. And now they go back to the ground for 3 with Rice. What about Rice's year? This team, as far as like what they're averaging on the ground, it's some numbers 3 yards a pop as a team, lowest in years.
Yeah, it is. The offensive line has struggled. You look at Ray Rice, there's no doubt he's not 100%, but I give him a lot of credit playing through the pain, the injury, and that's what you have to do. Don't judge them while they're hurt.
Second lowest by a team since 1970s. Flacco able to dump it off, and it's Rice scooting ahead to the 42. Because Rice had a hip injury early in the season. And, you know, you never know. We've talked about this many times. You think, boy, that guy's lost some of his speed. But you never know how much of it is the guy being nicked up.
Absolutely. There's no doubt. John Harbaugh has admitted to it. So did Ray Rice this week. Not 100%. So, you just, part of this league. You got to deal with it.
Got Steve Gregory, another Patriot defender, down. Gregory, who had an interception on this field when they met week 3 last year, picked off Flacco. Game that came down to a final play winning field goal by Tucker. And that right ankle got twisted.
Watch him. He gets caught under, but he's going to grab his knee. Boy, that is some position to be put in.
He'll be replaced by a rookie, Deron Harmon. Gregory, a former Charger, helped to the sideline. Okay, Flacco had a player ready to get right at him, Ninkovich.
Well, he started, you know, that was a good job. Couple of pressures, standing in there making throws.
Rice to the 45 and brought down by Chris Jones.
And I think one thing you just can never overlook when you're talking about a quarterback when his knee, his ankle, or anything like that is nicked up. Okay, it's one thing about throwing the football. The other is decision making. Because if you don't feel comfortable, you'll find a way to throw it to the short receiver or make a quicker decision than you usually would. But I haven't really seen that from Joe Flacco. One bad decision throwing it down the middle of the field where it should have been intercepted.
2nd and 7. And now rolling out to Monte Leach. And he pulls ahead. Turn it into a 1-yard gain. The 3rd down coming up, 3rd and about 6.
He needed a little more time. Joe Flacco did. He had to move out of the pocket, which did look good. There were receivers that time finally open down the field, but he needed that extra second to find Jacoby Jones.
Well, you talk about Flacco and what you've seen so far, but his completions, and there have been 5 to this point, have all been to the backs. And 1 tight end catch. No wide receivers. 3rd and 6. And it's whistled dead with the sack completed by Ninkovich.
It's what the Patriots do. They don't really beat you with speed. They just pressure the pocket, and Ninkovich just never stops working. Joe Flacco actually works up in the pocket, which is the bad thing to do because Ninkovich goes right underneath and gets the sack.
So a drive to start it at the 10. They change a little bit of field position. They'll punt it now from the 40. And the flag again is dropped right off the snap. Fair catch by Edelman on his knees at the 10. It was 4th and 11. A fair catch made by Edelman at the 10.
Illegal format. Number 40 was not lined up on the line of scrimmage. It's a 5-yard. Repeat 4th down.
And the Patriots will want better field position than what they had back there at the 10, plus the 5. They will make them kick it again. Patriot defense has come up with 3 sacks in this game, all of them on 3rd down.
I think we've talked about it a lot. I just think the fact that Joe Flacco is not naturally just moving around the way we usually see him is a part of that. That last time he could have just casually just went outside that pass rush and had plenty of time to throw it, but a little bit of lack of mobility made him stand there and take the sack.
Hook with a beautiful punt. But it flies into the end zone. So only a net of 44. Brady back onto the field with the 17-point lead.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by the new Windows. One experience for everything in your life. And by ExxonMobil.
Well, the Patriots found out just before this game started that the Miami game was final. Really, it was never in doubt. We watched some of that. Buffalo controlled things, but they knew they had won their division. Some might have said, well, how's that going to affect the way they play here today? And as we mentioned, still a lot on the line for New England, and they're playing like it.
Yeah, they are playing like it. Really a terrific game plan, especially on the offensive side today. They've done a good job with their wide receivers, helping them get down the field and get a chance to be open.
4.5 to go, second quarter. And just a 2-yard run by Blunt. We've got an update from Lambeau Field. Let's go back to New York first.
Green Bay playing hard too, Jim. Potential Rookie of the Year candidate right here, guys. This is Eddie Lacy, 14-yard cutback. They take a 14-7 lead over the Pittsburgh Steelers nearing halftime.
Back to Jim Nance, Bill Sims.
All right, that wild NFC North. And by the way, the Lions are down 10 to the Giants at halftime. Who would have thought the way the Giants have been playing the last few weeks? Not that the Lions have been playing great, but a lot of thought, well, the Giants won't even show up here today.
As we know, don't try to guess the outcome of NFL games. Ravens did not line the defense up properly. That's why they called the timeout.
We'll be going back to JB and Boomer, Dan Shannon and Coach Cowher. The Verizon halftime report. Just a short while down the road, and they'll update you on all the 1 o'clock games. How about the comeback win, 9 down at Washington, just down the road, led by Tony Romo, completes a 4th down throw to DeMarco Murray to win it.
Yeah, with some comeback, Tony Romo spared for one more week, maybe. But a great job. But a great job by him bringing the team back and winning it.
All those stories coming up on the Verizon halftime report. 2nd and 8. As Brady right on the money to Edelman at the 41.
Excellent job, Tom Brady. Protection. You be the quarterback, stands right in there, right behind the center. The guards, they give him the space to step into it. And Julian Edelman, we talked to him last night. Bill Belichick says this is not just a little slot receiver. He can play on the perimeter and do something like we just saw. Run down the field and catch it.
Blunt. Suggs on the hit after 3.
You know, it's interesting, Edelman in the gym. Quarterback in college, Kent State, but made the transition to punt returner and wide receiver. Not many in the history of the league have made that transition.
Well, you know, he got drafted, and one of the big reasons, it was coming out of the season where the Wildcat had first come out. And there was a lot of play going into that draft about a guy that could play Wildcat.
And he would be one of those guys, so no doubt.
2nd and 8, and it's Amendola. And the ball's out at the end. Was he down? Webb is taken off with it. On the field, it's ruled a fumble.
Well, they had what they wanted, Amendola against the linebacker, Smith. It's definitely a throw and catch. Oh, it's coming out.
Oh, just inches before the knee was down. What about the elbow?
Yep. Oh, I was too busy looking at the knee. Good point.
Look down the field is a catch.
The forearm,
Defense.
the
First down.
left elbow.
I think you're right. He's got control, and the elbow is down. It's down, and that football is still secure.
The previous play.
Tough shot from that side. What do you think? I think it's the elbow might be down before the football came loose.
It looks like it right there.
Yep.
Of course, all turnovers are reviewed And that is what is.
Well, as the turnover happened on the field as it was called, that's what the Ravens need. They need somebody to make that play to get that rhythm going on their side. But that football is secure. It's not coming out. It's underneath the arm.
Yeah, even seen on the field by one of the officials. Wow, and it holds up as a catch. New England is back on doing business on the Baltimore side of the field.
Yeah, they are. And just once again, the game plan, small receivers, all they talked about was getting these guys running free down the field, and they're doing it. Tom Brady inside protection. You know, the center, Wendell, and Josh Klein, who I thought that was tough last week against the Miami Dolphins, but today we haven't said his name. He's done a really good job.
So, it's not a knee issue. It's an arm, forearm, and elbow question. What point was it dislodged?
Well, I'll tell you in the Ravens' favor, the longer this takes, the more you think they're undecided about what they're looking at.
And of course, if the ruling on the field stands, Baltimore would finally be taking a snap today in New England territory. But I don't see how that can hold up.
Yeah, I think they're looking at what yard line it was at and the time on the clock. That's why it took so long.
Review. With the ball in his possession, the ball carrier's left forearm is on the ground. Therefore, he is down by contact. It's a first down on the 45.5-yard line. New England ball. The clock will start on the ready for play.
Just when you thought there might be a momentum change, the Patriots will have the ball at the 45 with 2:40 to go in the half. First down. Goes in the books as a 12-yard completion to Amendola. From under center, Brady. Hands it off with a flag out again. And Blunt for a couple. Real choppy game with a lot of stops in the action. Ron Winter's microphone working at about the same percentage as Joe Flacco's passes today, at about 50%.
47, Ho-Ho Mana Wanui.
Yeah, got an arm around Suggs.
Yep. And as you notice, I'm getting a little braver with that name as time goes on. It only takes, 5 or 6 years, I'm going to have it down.
I know, you're good for, even if he's not in on a play, you're good for 10 or 12 calls. Ho-Ho Mana Wanui. A game now. Your confidence level is high. First and 20. And approaching the 2-minute warning. There won't be another snap before it. So, 17-0. Going to the 2-minute warning break, and you're watching the NFL on CBS. Well, the Patriots have 2 timeouts and 2 minutes. The first and 20 back up off a holding call to their own 44. Nice piece of running by Blunt, and another flag is out. Showed a burst for about 19. The Ravens think it's coming back.
Holding. Offense number 6. Repeat first down.
Call the Marcus Cannon, the right tackle.
Pretty impressive, though, even with that hold, just to line up in a run formation and run right at this big defensive front. Ravens on the defensive side as big as anybody, maybe the biggest defense in the NFL.
First and 30 now. And again, it's Blunt getting the call. Slices back to the inside, and another nice piece of running by Blunt, who they traded for in the offseason from Tampa.
Yeah, he's a good compliment, Jim, to what they do. Shane Vereen, Stephen Ridley got the little speed. Vereen's the pass catcher, and Blunt, just watch him, it explains it all.
Run of 14. Makes it 2nd and 16. Another call to Blunt. And tripped up by Ihedibo at about the 42. Another run of 8. So they've got 22 yards back on these last 2 carries. And they approach a minute to go.
Well, they got the defense, and they're over there playing pass all the way. They're worried about getting up the field to get to Tom Brady, and it's just a power right at him. Well, they're going to make sure they're going to use the clock here, make sure that whatever happens here, they're not going to give the Ravens another chance with the football with time on the clock.
They're going to wait till 1 on the play clock. Take the timeout. Leaves him with 1. And again, the Verizon halftime report is coming up with JB, Dan, Shannon Boomer, and Coach Cowher with all the scores and highlights. So they run it down to 35. They still, they could do something with it here at the 42-yard line.
Yeah, but
3rd and 8.
Yeah, always remember, though, they're looking 17 to nothing. That's why they ran the football, being careful. They like the situation they're in. So they use the clock. Now they're just one thing, get in field goal position, give us a chance, and give the Ravens no more opportunities on the offensive side. So it's kind of like what John Harbaugh did at the end of the game the other night. He was faking like he was going to go for it on 4th down all along, knowing he was going to kick the field goal, but it kept the other team from calling a timeout.
Can pick up the first at about the 35-yard line. Brady from the gun, with pressure, and flags are out again. Holding call against the Patriots.
It's an interesting decision. If you don't take the penalty.
Holding. Offense number 67. Penalties decline. That's the 4th down.
I think you got to punt it.
Yeah, you got to punt it because that's what John Harbaugh is doing. Yeah, go ahead, go for it on 4th down, and if you don't make it, give us field position. Definitely Harbaugh has a good hit. Suggs got on Tom Brady.
3 holding calls on this series against that offensive line of New England.
Tell you what, though, they had receivers open. Tom Brady had time. He was going to hit a big play.
Lardarius Webb is actually the returner, standing at the 10. Goes up for the fair catch. And yet another flag is down in the area where the ball was punted. How long has it been since we had 2 consecutive plays without a flag? We may have run into Ryan Allen.
This is interesting now that
see Brady getting ready to put the helmet on.
running into the kicker. Yard penalty.
But the 5 yards.
There you go. That's what I meant. That's why Bill Belichick wanted to hear it out. Get the 5 yards.
Make it 4th and 2.
And now he might think about going for it.
Boy, that was McPhee, Pernell McPhee running into Allen. Upshaw was in the area too.
Yeah, it was some acting, but you know what? Don't get close to him.
4th and 2, the offense on the field. Take the snap from about the 37. Now if you're Baltimore, you're regretting you didn't take the holding penalty on the previous play. Especially if this works out. Well, what else? A flag fest here in Baltimore.
False start. Offense number 62. The 5-yard penalty remains first up, 4th down.
And I believe that means we can welcome back Ryan Allen to the field.
It's because he looked around, and let's see if he moves it. Yeah, the movement was so egregious by the center, Wendell, that's why they threw the flag. And I'm not convinced, Jim, that they were going to go for it. I in the back of my mind, I said they're going to maybe just try to draw him off, the movement, everything, and because if he didn't get it, you would give Baltimore a chance for just to get a little hope and get in field goal range.
And again, they could have been, you might be saying at home, a 55-yard field goal by Gostowski, but a miss there would have set up Baltimore at the 45 with enough time to maybe do something at the other end. And Allen's punt, bouncing around, and tapped by Marquise Cole at the 1, and then Ebner downs it.
No flags.
Is that true?
Yes. That's what I'm here for, to state the obvious.
The Ravens will be taking a snap here to mount the 2. If the Ravens lose here, they are not out of the postseason. It would give Cincinnati the division. It would keep Miami alive. And San Diego and Pittsburgh actually would still be alive if they win their games, which are going on at the moment.
Well, I know this. Watching this game, this is about as bad as I've seen the Baltimore Ravens play all year long. The mistakes on both sides of the ball. Some of the penalties.
Did you say no flag?
Kicking player out of bounds. Came back in, was the first.
Somebody please get this man a
5-yard
microphone before the second half kick.
Here it comes, bottom of the screen, illegally goes out of bounds. And when you illegally go out of bounds, or get pushed out of bounds, I should say legally, you're not allowed to be the first person back on the field to touch the football. Because if he was pushed illegally out of bounds, then he could touch the football.
Corey Graham, who shoved Cole to the sideline.
You understand that?
Yeah.
So since he was knocked out legally, that means he cannot be the first guy to touch the football when he comes back in the field of play.
Don't think it changes the game plan here for the Ravens with 16 seconds.
Well, John Harbaugh is sitting over there. Okay, he's forming his speech at halftime. What he's going to say to his football team.
Well, New England defense has been decimated by injury this season and has given up some huge yardage totals. Blanks Baltimore in the first half on its home field. 17-0 New England is the score at the intermission. Brady with a touchdown pass to Vereen. Blunt ran one in as well. Back with the Verizon halftime report. Just a moment after this message and a word from your local station. You're watching the NFL on CBS. Back here on a day when the Patriots already have locked up the division and now trying to improve or at least hold their seeding position. And let's take a look now. Listen in on some of the sounds here in Baltimore. The touchdown pass to Vereen. Football like you've never heard it. Presented to you by Sonos. Vereen missing a large part of that the first half with a groin injury. What do you think we're going to see here in the second half? What do the Ravens need to do?
Well, they need to do just about everything better. There's no doubt about it. Give the Patriots credit. Their offense gave them a lot of looks, a lot of formations, helped those receivers out. And for the Ravens, you got to help Joe Flacco out. You can see he's not sharp. Give some different formations, some easy plays, drive starters, get them moving. Anytime you're in this league, Jim, you know it. You need that first down to get the defense on its heels, and that way you can start moving that football.
They had 71 total yards in that first half, Baltimore, and 65 penalty yards. And Gostowski. Boy, that is a big-time kick to the back of the end zone, into the wind. Some of the first half numbers, here you go. Quarterback comparison. Flacco sacked on 3 occasions, on 3 third-down situations. We'll come out with a 3-receiver set here, Phil. The first snap of the second half, including Marlon Brown. And they're still running it with Rice. Got a 5-yard gain.
Well, I think Joe Flacco should be, and I know he will be, very determined here in the second half to be strong, to think clear, and just see it, trust it, and let it go. That's what he always does.
2nd and 5, and he thought about it. Now having to run. And completes the pass. And that's the man we mentioned, Marlon Brown, who had come in here to start the third quarter. He's had quite a year as an undrafted rookie out of Georgia.
He sure has, and that is some tremendous throw on the run. How about this? Going away from the line of scrimmage, he made these type of throws in the Super Bowl. Doesn't even get his shoulders turned at all and just whips it with his hand and arm out there. And Marlon Brown stepping up for this team.
First catch by a wide receiver today for the Ravens. And that's Dixon, the tight end. And they cross midfield for the first time after a 15-yard pickup, and McCourty is dizzy.
Reading the tight end down the field. Nice throw by Joe Flacco, making Dixon turn and catch the football to protect him.
So McCourty is getting some attention. You might remember the other safety, Steve Gregory, in that first half went out. He is actually back out there on the field. But McCourty's the one needing attention at the moment, and we'll step aside. McCourty dazed and on the bench, replaced by Harmon. Another man from Rutgers, replacing one from Rutgers. First snap on the Patriots side of the field for the Ravens today, and it's Rice. For a gain of 3, and again Flacco with that what appears to be rather sizable brace on the left knee.
Yeah, I think when I went out to watch him practice on Friday, I was like, wow, that's a big brace. And you know, I don't know what I was thinking. MCL sprain, the inside of your knee. Of course he's going to be tender and a little hobbled.
He's got Pitta on the field. Has not been targeted so far today. They send Rice now to the top of the screen, 2nd and 7. And there's Pitta. Brought down by Harmon, who had come in for McCourty, holding the 4.
Yeah, they need Dennis Pitta to be part of this offense. I've already said Ed Dixon really better in the pass game, running routes, looks different because he's getting all those extra reps. But you get Dennis Pitta going, that's going to open up the outside for Jacoby Jones and Torrey Smith. They're just not making the big plays that we've seen in the past because of Dennis Pitta out of there.
3rd and 3. And time for Flacco, now having to run. Throws it away as Chandler Jones came racing after Flacco and knocked him down. Now what do you do 4th and 3? They keep the offense on the field.
Yep, I was going to say, I think you go for it here. 17-0.
Took a pretty good lick.
He did. It came fast. I thought he had time to look down the field, and all of a sudden Chandler Jones, second-year guy, without question the best pass rusher for the New England Patriots.
So they're going to go for it, it appears. 4th and 3. And Flacco. Pass batted down by Logan Ryan, who had a first quarter interception.
He must have. You'll see Dennis Pitta underneath, wide open, but he takes a chance and throws it down the field.
He was looking for Jacoby Jones, and the Patriots take over on downs.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Southwest Airlines. Find our fares online only at southwest.com. Fidelity Investments. Take control of your personal economy. And by Papa John's. New Chipotle Chicken and Bacon Pizza.
So the Ravens got a couple of snaps on the New England side of the field, but unable to convert on 4th and 3. And Brady and the Patriots, their first offensive handle of the second half's an incompletion to Edelman. What were they doing on 4th down?
Well, let's watch it. I think he predetermined Jacoby Jones is going to go deep, and watch Dennis Pitta. So you're thinking as a quarterback, they're going to play the short receiver because they want to stop the first down, but everybody drops back. If he throws it underneath, Dennis Pitta is going to get the first down, and sometimes, I've said it a couple times, that's what happens. You're just not yourself. You don't make clean decisions, and that was a bad one by Joe Flacco.
Nothing.
2nd and 10. And a good fake. Frees up the time for the long ball. Looking for Dobson, and unable to make the grab.
Beautiful throw. Good recognition by Tom Brady that he's going to outrun the coverage. And he dropped it right in the bucket. But it looked like Dobson couldn't get his hands free to make the catch. You think he's covered, but he's going full speed. Webb kind of slows him down. Well, that's a good last second lunge by Ladarius Webb. Picks up the football. Wow, how about that?
Third and 10. Zips it incomplete. And that was in the area of Amendola.
Yeah, again, no. We're giving these guys a chance. Tom Brady's smart with the football, recognizes where the game is, 17-0. No chances. Don't give them hope. So he made the safe, proper throw. Basically threw it away in the middle of the field.
Jacoby Jones. He's a guy that can give you a spark in special teams. We know that. Just think back to that 108-yard kick return at the Super Bowl. Going to have some separation here. Little stutter step move, and now up the middle. And then swamped at the 20. Brought down by Jamie Collins after a 54-yard boot. How about this scenario? You see the Chargers have just taken a lead against Oakland on a Rivers touchdown pass to Keenan Allen. If they win that game, Ravens lose here, Chargers could make the playoffs next week with a win over Kansas City and a Raven and Miami loss. Here's Jacoby Jones stepping out after a gain of 11. They needed 6 things to go their way, the Chargers. They needed to win their last 2, and the Ravens and the Dolphins to lose their last 2, and they would get in. Wow. And they may come through today getting all 3 things of this week go their way.
They are playing well, and that was a terrific throw by Joe Flacco. It was a blitz. The Ravens get blitzed as much as any team in football.
Here is Pierce. And he's got a quick 6. With the playoff races heating up, you can download NFL Mobile to get live video access to exclusive premium content on your smartphone. Call *NFL to download or go to NFL.com/mobile.
Will hurry up offense, trying to change the rhythm of this game and give themselves a chance at more plays.
Comes it across the middle, and Ninkovich was not fooled. Holds it to 2 on the short completion to Pierce.
You know what I said? Why are the Ravens blitz so much? Because people think they can get to the quarterback, the offensive line, and they don't fear the receivers outside.
Mike Patricia, the defensive coordinator. Matt Patricia. His team doing stellar work so far. 3rd and 2. And that's intercepted. It's Ryan again with his second pick of the day. And the rookie from Rutgers is down at the 8. That pass, for a moment, looked like Pitta might come up with it, which would have been a first down. Instead, Ryan with his second interception of the day and his 5th of the season.
Well, he's got a knack for the football. He's done it all year long. He'll get burned every once in a while. The football goes off the hands, but Pitta is trying to stay inside. Joe Flacco leads him outside into trouble. And Logan Ryan just not afraid, Jim, to be over-aggressive, make the interception, or knock passes down.
That was not a great throw.
No, it was not. Once again, Pitta only plays a few plays a game. As he makes this interception,
the previous
was
play
he touched?
will be reviewed.
Yeah, they're going to review whether or not Pitta, after it bounced off his hands, if maybe he came in contact with Ryan when he was on the ground.
Well, again, Pitta, Joe Flacco, not sharp with each other. He's hooking it up. The pass leads him outside. Yeah, that's
His
definitely
foot,
contact.
I believe, did graze.
Even the body.
Which would mean instead of the ball being at the 8, bring it back somewhere around the 43, I believe.
You know, this is Joe Flacco's. This is his favorite target, Dennis Pitta. One of his good friends. They have some rhythm. Joe Flacco said, I can read his body language. I know exactly what he's going to do. Now, I'm not sure if he was supposed to hook it up or read it. Looks like he was reading the route to stay there, and wow. Definitely got contact. Saw the football down there low, too.
We mentioned a couple of times how the Patriots have had to bring in Duron Harmon once Gregory was injured for a few plays. McCourty, Harmon, and Ryan both coming out of Rutgers, out of the same secondary, both out of the same round, drafted in the 3rd round by New England, and big contributions their first year.
Yeah, they have played like, you know, solid high draft picks. They've made plays. They've been accountable. I know they're happy with their performances on the field. You know, that was 3rd and short. I was even, you know, going, wow, I don't know, 3rd and short, I might run it. And if I didn't make it, I would have thought about going for it on 4th down, even on my own 40.
After review, following the interception, the defender was touched down by contact. The New England's ball, 1st and 10 on the 43-yard line. Please reset the game clock to 10:25.
So it'll be Flacco's second pass intercepted of the game. And again, both by Ryan. We get word now from the Patriots that McCourty will not be coming back into this game. He suffered a concussion, and he's done for the day. And here's Flacco, so frustrated.
Yeah.
Just doesn't feel the same. It's obvious.
You know, the other thing is, too, you spend all week trying to get healthy. And it is emotionally and physically, it does drain you also. There's a lot of stuff that goes on for a quarterback, but he's not 100%.
On 1st down, Ridley may be able to squeeze out one. By the way, next Saturday, look at this doubleheader here on the home of the Men's National Championship game. Villanova at Syracuse, both in the top 10. And the last 2 national champions, Louisville and Kentucky, at Rupp Arena next Saturday here on CBS.
Well, once again, the Ravens calling on their defense to stop them right here.
2nd and 9. And that's Ridley. Moving it down to about the 37 before Arthur Jones ends it.
Arthur Jones. Just every time you watch the Ravens, he sticks out. You know, when you get, and he does look trimmer and in better shape than I've seen him. When you get that way, you can just play harder and longer. And he's been productive.
Got a 3rd and 4 here. Open to Edelman. And bounced out at the 30. But after he picked up the first down. Gain of 9.
Well, this is what I say. You got to help the quarterback and help the players. Here we go. Edelman behind, breaks out. You can't get tight enough, Jim. And it's 3rd and short. You expect him to go across the field. He goes outside, and that's just a good design. Very simple. But once again, I've said it many times today, they're helping these guys run down the field untouched.
On first down, Ridley. Going to make sure he secures that football because he's lost more fumbles than any running back in the league this year and spent some time in the penalty box.
Oh, yeah.
As a result. If you look at this, what stands out the most out of all the things we've seen today affecting the playoff picture?
I don't know. I can't make a mind up.
How about, well, Denver takes the West. Kansas City at home at Arrowhead was throttled by Indianapolis, so that locked up the West. Denver still holding the cards right now was the 1. A New England win here would keep them in the 2 spot. A loss would drop them back actually to the 4. Moving behind Cincy and Indy. Here is Brady's pass knocked loose. We've got an update. Let's send it back to the studio in New York.
Back and forth in Green Bay.
Well, guys, another controversial call in Green Bay. Pittsburgh's call for batting the ball. The ball was given back to Green Bay. They turned that into a touchdown pending an extra point right now. They take the lead over the Pittsburgh Steelers 21-17.
Back to Jim Nance.
All right, thank you, JB and Boomer. What a setting it is. It's been snowing there all day at Lambeau Field. And the Packers now up on the Steelers. 3rd and 7. Again, it's Edelman. But he is stopped well short of a first. 5th catch of the game for Edelman, which brings him up to 94 on the season. And this will bring out Gostowski.
How productive. You look at Edelman, what he could catch. You said to him last night, you could catch 100 passes. I mean, it's a guy that was a quarterback in college, couldn't stay healthy the first couple years. A punt returner. Is he going to be a 3rd down back, a wildcat quarterback? And he's going to catch 100 passes as a wide receiver.
He needs 6 more. You know, he grew up only about 8 minutes away, the Edelman home in Redwood City in the Bay Area, away from the Brady home in San Mateo. And they've worked out very wisely.
How about
Edelman
that?
took an apartment in the LA area in the offseason and said, hey, Tom, anybody you need somebody to catch, I'll be there.
That's right.
They've developed that chemistry in the offseason, and it's showing now. But here's Gostowski, a 42-yard attempt. Danny Aiken to snap it back. Allen on the hold. And Gostowski, center cut. 3 points off the turnover. Flacco misfiring wide of the mark on a short throw. Led to the Gostowski kick, and it's 20-0.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Warner Brothers Pictures' Grudge Match, in theaters Christmas Day. And by Wells Fargo, wishing you a magical holiday.
And Gostowski's only had 1 of his kicks returned today. Earning 3 touchbacks. Make it 4. Nope, it'll be one back, I should say, as Jacoby Jones is out of bounds at the 27. When Bill Belichick took over as the coach of the Cleveland Browns, it was the first year off the playing field You see Jones hurt a hand on that return. First year off the field for Ozzie Newsome. What a wondrous job he's done here with the Baltimore Ravens franchise, their executive VP and general manager.
He's the guy in charge of picking the players. I'd say he's done an excellent job, and they reshaped this team during the offseason. Lost a lot of guys. Hey, it's 20-0, Jim. 3 scores, a lot of time left.
And that's maybe a 1-yard gain for Rice, running into Chris Jones. Robert Kraft, again, his Patriots, kind of an odd thing. You're in the locker room, you're getting suited up, you're warming up, you find out you win the division. And they've won it now for a 5th straight year off the Miami loss earlier today. 2nd and 9. Pass is complete to Tandon Doss, seeing some first action. With a flag out, back where the pass was thrown.
Illegal use of hands, hands to the face. Offense number 68. 10-yard penalty. Repeat 2nd down.
2.5 quarters plus, and never in rhythm for any kind of sustained time today.
Oh, left guard A.Q. Shipley. Hands just hits the face mask. That time it looks like of Chris Jones. One thing about the Baltimore receivers, you look at all of them, Jacoby Jones, Marlon Brown, Doss, Smith, all tall. They can make those tough catches over the middle.
They set up a screen to Rice. Back to the middle of the field, picks up a big chunk. It'll set up 3rd and about 6. And Rice asking to come out. Pierce will replace him. Gain of 13. And Jacoby Jones, who was in a little bit of anguish after the kick return, he's back onto the field for this 3rd down play. Jones on the near side, 3rd and 6. And Marlon Brown has the first down. Right in front of Kyle Arrington.
Just nothing easy. Every play is tough. He's got to hold the football, Joe Flacco. Nobody gets open quickly. And that time he takes the hit, and he has to really make a driving throw to the outside of the field to pick up 7 or 8 yards.
Quickly to the line, and Pierce backs up a couple of Patriot defenders, including Ninkovich, and runs it for 4.
That's what's really been kind of missing this year from this team as we talk about it. Why you Anquan Bolden not in the middle of the field. Dennis Pitta hasn't been a big part. Not freeing up these outside guys for the big plays deep down the field.
2nd and 6. Almost stepped into a sack and instead gets the pass away to Pierce. Hold on, no, incomplete.
And the good thing is Joe Flacco really showed some nice movement that time. Up in the pocket, back out. Pierce took his eyes off the football.
Right, got to catch that one. You were talking about the absence of Anquan Bolden in our chat with John Harbaugh. He talked about how much Flacco's grown up this season because he's had to make some more creative throws without the likes of Bolden. And here he is on 3rd and 6, looking for one of those big plays. Finds his man, Torrey Smith. Stiff arm and gets free. Down the sideline and finally wrapped up just outside the 10. He got away from Steve Gregory.
Give a lot of credit to the offensive line, of course. And Torrey Smith outside and uncovered. And Joe Flacco looked everywhere. And then finally, out of the corner of his eye, saw him wide open.
First catch of the game for Torrey Smith, and it goes for 42.
The defense broke down because of all the time the quarterback had.
Threatening for the very first time. And the Ravens run it with Bernard Scott for 2. Former backup with the Bengals coming in. Rice was a little gimpy earlier in this drive, but returns to the huddle.
Now it used to be with Anquan Bolden in there, they would give you a formation like we saw so many times. Spread the field and let him work the middle. Not the same with this offense right now.
2nd and 8 from the 11. The play action and the throw to an open Dixon. Shoved out by Hightower, about a yard short of a first.
They were looking for Jacoby Jones over the middle. He's covered. And then Dixon blocks Ninkovich and then releases outside. And good timing, nice throw. Good deception on the play by the Ravens offense. And now this call on 3rd down for the Ravens. It has to be with the thought in mind that we're going for it on 4th down if we don't make it.
They'll spread it out on 3rd and 1. Flacco rolling out, lobs it to the end zone and over the head of Pitta.
I don't think he had to move that time. He must have saw a flash, he took off, and once he moved, that makes the throw almost impossible. Did he get pressure inside? Was it meant to be it almost looks like it was meant to be a rollout as quick as he moved.
Well, here they go.
It's 2 3rd and shorts. We've seen him throw the football when you think if they run it, they would have 2 opportunities.
Already failed once in this quarter on a 4th down go. 4th and 1. And a whistle. And a timeout by the Ravens.
I like the timeout, Jim, and they have not shown the ability just to line up and shake away from the defensive backs of the Patriots. And it just, the receivers, that's been their problem all year. They just don't get away from tight coverage. So if you put them back in the backfield, the threat of the run or a different type of formation, instead of just standing there, I think can really help the Baltimore Ravens in this play. Yeah, and what I'm saying is everybody's just lined up. Look at the tight coverage. It's just hard. They don't have to worry about the receivers going by them, so you can overplay the first move by the receiver. This time Ray Rice in the backfield.
Got to get one. Now he steps up under center. Gets it to Rice. Oh, and this will be close.
He didn't make it. He saw the alignment.
I'm not sure he
that's a pretty
missed
good
out
spot
on
by
it.
the yellow line. I thought when he first got tackled. But he went under center because of the alignment. Thought they could run it right up inside. I thought he was going to run the quarterback sneak when he saw nobody over the center.
And the Patriots stop him inches short. Rice brought down by Ninkovich. Makes a stand. Stops him on 4th down. Now taking over at the 3. And Blunt's got one.
Well, Jim, why did they stop the 4th down play? They watch Selinga gets inside. Brandon Spikes times it right, and here comes Ninkovich from the outside. When Joe Flacco gets under center, awesome job of going. Watch him crash. Boom, they move at the last second. That's what made it work for the Ravens defense.
Selinga really did move into that open gap, didn't he? What a play.
They tricked him. He ran it up the middle, and they moved at the last second.
Brady throws. Got his man at the 10. And it's caught by Edelman. 2 yards shy of a first. Update time. JB and Boomer in New York.
Hey, Jim, Green Bay pays for a mistake.
Well, Pittsburgh now scored 14 points at 18 seconds. Matt Flynn gets hit by his fullback before he throws. Cortez Allen makes the interception. Pittsburgh pads his lead to 31-21 over Green Bay.
Jim Nance, Phil Simms.
How about that? 14 points in 18 seconds. A bizarre throw there by Flynn. Thank you, fellas. 3rd and 2. And Brady hits the deck at the 5 as Suggs was coming after him.
Well, a couple times today we've seen Terrell Suggs get great pressure. Now the sacks, oh, he changes up. He usually does the power move, but that time Logan Mankins, he gets him standing up and goes to the inside. Mankins not ready for that move. And Suggs loves hitting Tom Brady. We know that. Talked about it during the week.
Yeah, he's had some strip sacks against him in the previous matchups. Boots it all the way back to the 40. To Jacoby Jones. Time to turn the corner and does. He's got a 20-yard run back. Pushed out by the punter.
He's getting faster, Jacoby Jones.
He is. 54-yard punt. 22-yard official return. Don't miss on Wednesday night. What better way to spend Christmas than with Phil Simms?
Wow.
And maybe even a cameo by Chris Collinsworth and James Brown. Will you let them have a few words?
I might. Santa's coming this Wednesday.
Oh,
though,
good.
So, yeah. Just trying to decide if Santa's going to be nice or naughty, mean, whatever.
We'll find out Wednesday night on Inside the NFL.
There'll be a lot of coal going in those stockings.
Good starting point here. Rest of the day for the Ravens, and it's Pierce.
Here we are again. Look at it. 50 seconds ago, it's still 3 scores. If they just get in the end zone and pressure the Patriots even more. This Ravens defense, they have kept them in the game.
Tough catch. And it's made by Torrey Smith. Looked like he was held before he even had a chance to catch it. Talib was on his back.
I never thought I'd say this, but that was truly a late flag.
Pass interference. Defense number 31. The penalties decline. Result of the play is a first down.
He's got a hold there. Now he's over the top. Oh, Harbaugh and the crowd. Yeah, it's, man.
He's had a busy day on the sideline.
And then they kept looking, and finally the side judge threw the flag.
Closing seconds, quarter 3, and Flacco down to the 18 with Dixon. Trying to get to the line to get at least one more snap before the end of the quarter. They need as many plays as they can, being down 20. And not in time. 20-0 Patriots through 3. You're watching the NFL on CBS. New England jumped out quickly, 14-zip. Field goal on the first snap of the second quarter, and then another kick in the third off a takeaway. And now we start the fourth quarter. Jim Nantz, Phil Simms here in Baltimore, along with Lance Barrow, Mike Arnold, and our great crew. 2nd and 5 carry for Pierce. Nowhere to go.
It had to be a mistake. I mean, nobody's blocking a run-stopping linebacker that time, Hightower. So the offensive line just not sharp for the Ravens, and they're definitely in 4-down territory here, Jim.
And you were saying during that quarter change that they could score here a touchdown.
The Ravens defense is doing a tremendous job time and time again, keeping them in the game, stopping the New England's offense. Need to score though.
3rd and 5, going for the safety valve, and that's wide of Pierce. And they're going to go field goal here. They bring out Tucker. It's interesting. It'll keep him if he makes it. Still down 3 scores.
Still 3 scores. This is a 50-50 call here. So John Harbaugh just wants to get some points on the board and maybe change the rhythm of the game.
Tucker coming off one of the best performances any kicker's ever had. 6 field goals in the game Monday night, including the 61-yard winner.
If their defense keeps playing the way it has, they're going to at least get 3 more chances to get the football.
37-yard attempt for the first points of the game, and even this does not go the Ravens' way. Tucker had made all these attempts in a row, 33 straight before that one, and they're still without a point on the board. Even Tucker, who has been automatic, is off today. His first miss in 34 attempts. Brady to Edelman, sidesteps the hit, and then is tossed down, but not until he picks up 15 yards and another first down.
It's just clever. What do? They bring him in motion. He's inside. He breaks out. One of the few teams, I said this last week, the Patriots are one of the few teams to throw those quick outs. Everybody else throws slants and they throw it inside. They're afraid to throw it to the sideline. They are not, and look what Edelman does. Takes a simple first down run they use as a pass and picked up good yards.
There's Brady to an open target again, and it's Dobson this time on the Baltimore side at the 36.
And here's what they're doing. The New England Patriots are just saying, we're going to go out here and win the game. And why? Because they were sputtering on offense, not getting anything done. So they throw it on first down to get the rhythm going, a good, drive starter, throwing the quick out to Edelman. Now they fake it. They get the defense thinking it's going to be run. They're going to play safe, and they're not.
Dobson's first reception goes for 21. And they fake to Blunt. And that's incomplete in the direction of Edelman. What about the Giants? What about the Lions? JB and Boomer with the story.
Hey, Jim, Giants aren't giving up.
Well, the Lions were down 13-3. They stormed all the way back, took a 20-13 lead, and then Matthew Stafford had this happen. An interception return by Will Hill, 38 yards on the return. Giants tied up 20-20 late in the fourth.
Hey, Jim, let me support your comment earlier. Phil does have us raising a hand to speak on Inside the NFL. Jim Nance.
Yes, he does. Thank you, JB and Boomer. How about Stafford? Wow, what a disaster that was late in that game, trying to stay alive. Here's Blunt for 3 yards. Stafford coming off of some questionable decision-making in the loss to the Ravens just 6 days ago.
Yeah, it was. Looked like a tight throw. You're up late in the game. It's all part of being a quarterback in the league. You got to manage the game and know when to take chances and when not to. That throw looked awful tight, and he paid the price.
3rd and 7. Incomplete, looking for Bolden.
Interesting decision here right by the Patriots. Are they going to go for a long field goal? I don't think so.
I would think they'd try to punt it here and
I would too.
Pin them deep. And again, you got guys like Matthew Slater. We saw Marquise Cole, even though he'd come in from out of bounds. They are exceptional at downing punts.
Your 3 scores up, make them drive the long field. That's why you punt it.
Lardarius Webb is back to catch it if he's going to make that decision, which he will, at the 10. Exactly what they were looking for out of Ryan Allen. Pins him back at the 10-yard line.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by the Home Depot. More saving, more doing. That's the power of the Home Depot. New York Life Insurance Company. And by Bud Light, official beer sponsor of the NFL.
2 weeks ago, the Ravens had this crazy, wild dash to the finish against Minnesota with 4 touchdowns in the last couple of minutes exchanged total by both teams. They haven't had a touchdown now. Look at Flacco sacked at the 1 in 7.5 quarters, Phil.
Yeah, Jim, just not able to make the plays. That time, you're the quarterback. Look down the field. He has time initially. Nobody is open. I mean, they are covered completely.
And there's Salinga, who had that huge play that he blew up on 4th and a yard to go when the Ravens had their biggest threat of the day. He's in on that sack. 2nd and 17. Not able to hold that one in as Smith.
There you are. Smith coming across the field, Aqib Talib, their best cover guy on him, and you're trying to make a 1-in-10 throw to make the completion. That's how tight the coverage was and how risky it would have been to take a chance.
And a timeout called by the Patriots.
Well, Joe Flacco's had a lot to overcome today. Trying to get well all week. The interception was just off target. He's been under pressure. And then, you know, just everything at all. That was after the 4th down play when he threw it down the field to Jacoby Jones. Once he looked at the coverage, he was so upset with himself because the initial read was open for the first down.
Sacked a total of 4 times. And again, another flag is drawn with the false start. Michael Ward doesn't agree.
False start. Offense number 74. Penalized half the distance to the goal. Remains 3rd down.
Well, our opinion doesn't matter. Just watching it live, I thought they got in the neutral zone. And if they made that mistake, that's a big deal, Jim, the officials, because
Correction.
oh, geez, I didn't.
Infraction.
They've changed the call.
Defense.
They're changing the call right now.
5-yard penalty. It remains 3rd down.
Well, there we go. And why you don't want it blown dead is you want Joe Flacco to have a free play to throw it down the field. As soon as I saw the jump, I said, oh, he's got a free play. You got to know it. Take a chance with the football.
Still, it's 3rd and long. 3rd and 12 to go. From the end zone. Got the first down. Out to Pitta. Tavon Wilson was on the coverage. He got beat for 15.
A good job by the offensive line. Joe Flacco kind of drifted back. How about that, though? They hit Pitta as he got off the line of scrimmage, and then Wilson covered him.
Over to Brown. And another 6.
You know, they hit the number 2 receiver. That's how they view it, Dennis Pitta. And then he put Aqib Talib on who they perceive to be the best wide receiver.
Second and 4, and Brown will have the first down and some space to run. Tumbles to the 48 of New England. And he landed on his hip.
I like this. A little different route that time. It's man coverage. Make it tough for him to chase you across the field.
And while Brown will hobble to the sideline, Kyle Arrington was slow to get up. He got clobbered on a block he didn't see coming by Pitta. So off goes Marlon Brown, but Arrington is still trying to make his way to the New England side. He was crushed. Here's Pitta, hit him.
Yeah, well, that is legal. Dennis Pitta didn't even see him going across the field. He was trying to fight the defender who was guarding him, and he just ran into Dennis Pitta. At the last second, Pitta saw him and protected himself. That's the idea of the play, to cross close so it makes it tough for the defensive backs to follow you.
Brings in Alfonso Dennard into the secondary. As on the draw, Rice has 8. Got to do something here on this driver. It's
Well,
Just there's no possessions, not enough possessions left for the day.
absolutely. You're cutting it close if you'll get 2 more after this one. So it'd be nice to make the big play to finally get on the board.
2nd and 2 into the sideline and on target. No, ruled incomplete, but it was out of bounds.
I know one thing, Joe Flacco is rearing back and throwing that football. Both feet were in. That looked good to me.
Is the right foot in?
Catch.
And caught it with the right foot on the ground.
Going to the ground. Does he hold on to the football? Yes. That was some throw, too.
That might have been Flacco's best throw of the day.
Yeah, it was. He stepped into it and put everything behind it.
Baltimore's challenged the ruling on the field of an incomplete pass.
So, Ron Winter had the chance to examine this one. Got the right foot down when he makes the catch. The left foot also appears to be in. We're back, coming out of a challenge issued by John Harbaugh and the Ravens. Ruled incomplete on the field.
Clean catch of the football, possession all the way. Looks like the right foot's on the ground, definitely. Then the left foot hits inbounds. Doesn't let go of the football as he goes to the ground.
Got to think Baltimore will win this challenge. And all that extra time probably means they're trying to figure out placement off the catch.
After review, with possession of the ball, the receiver did get 2 feet down inbounds. Therefore, it is a catch. The ball will be placed at the 25-yard line. Baltimore is not charged with a team timeout. The game clock will start on the ready for play.
So 10 minutes to go, and remember the Ravens used a timeout earlier in this half. They have 2 to go.
They need to do everything perfectly. And that means they couldn't even afford to lose that challenge and the timeout, because they're most likely going to need those timeouts to get a chance to win this game. That's if everything goes their way leading up to that.
Flacco going for the end zone, and it's over the head. And the flag is out. They'll set up the ball at the 1. It's going for Torrey Smith.
Well, that might even everything up then. From the first call of the game.
Pass interference. Defense number 28. The ball will be placed at the spot of the foul. First down.
Steve Gregory on the interference.
Yeah, he's down there. Looks like he's in great position. Well, he does lock arms. He kept Smith from raising his right arm up, and that's why they threw the flag.
A little body check. John Reed and Rick Wagner have come in as extra linemen for the Ravens. The ball set up at the 2. The give to Rice. Driving. And about halfway there, Hightower and others pushed him back. You're the Ravens. Everything you do now, when you have possession, you can't waste time.
No, that's right. Even get the play call in, Joe Flacco. Call it, go, save every second you can.
Second and goal. Quarterback sneak and a touchdown.
I know if you make the field goal, everything changes behind it. I understand that. But that field goal attempt, well, you look at it now, and if you're down, if it had been 20-10, you go, boy, it really changes everything in the next series for the Patriots.
Did you believe at the time they should have gone field goal attempt or go for it?
It was, like I said, 50-50 either way. I understood why John Harbaugh was kicking the field goal.
Extra point, Tucker is good. 9:21 left. Ravens' first rush touchdown in 5 games. More importantly, they've driven 90 yards to have some hope.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Verizon. Never be without football with NFL Mobile from Verizon. And by Universal Pictures' new film, Lone Survivor, starring Mark Wahlberg, in theaters January 10th.
Well, you see the Ravens lining up for an onside kick. If they do, I would totally disagree with this. But I think they're just doing this for the look to make sure New England is playing the onside kick, and now they're not going to get a very good return.
Back deep, by the way, with Vereen not returning since the first quarter with a groin injury. They've got Amendola. There's a shift. Yep. They're going to send it down to Amendola to the back of the end zone. Next week, week 17. It'll be a doubleheader. We'll make a doubleheader out of this configuration of games. Some of these times might be shifted. It'll be interesting to see how it all shakes out with so many possibilities. All starting with the NFL today. You know how crazy it is if the Ravens lose here. Pittsburgh and San Diego close out games today with wins. The Ravens, even with a win next week, would not control their own destiny for a wild card berth. There'd be 4 teams still alive, none of whom control their own fate. Pittsburgh, San Diego, the Dolphins, and the Ravens. They'd all need to win and get help and all kinds of tiebreakers. Here's Brady over the shoulder attempt. No, by Edelman. All we do know is that right now the first spot is led by Denver, which won its division today, and we're hearing reports that the Broncos are concerned that Von Miller may have torn an ACL in that win down in Houston.
That opening play, you saw Tom Brady trying to throw it down the seam to Julian Edelman. He's a small receiver. That's a tough throw and catch. That's where you miss Gronkowski in situations like that.
On 2nd and 10, Ridley runs it out for about 5. Did the Ravens get the Patriots off the field in a hurry? Already helped by a first down incompletion to stop the clock. And again, each side with 2 timeouts. From the pocket with the time he needs, and Bolden is hammered by Webb short of the first. The Ravens get the 3 and out they desired.
This is one of the reasons why they've had success against the Patriots. Watch the crossers, the running back coming over here. They stay in their lanes, they don't overcommit, and how about that hit by Ladarius Webb? Small guy comes up, not afraid to make big tackles. You see it every week with him.
Patriots with only 3 first downs in this half and 59 total yards, as the Ravens defense has certainly stiffened since the first quarter. Allen's punt bounces out of bounds. And it'll be at the 31 after a 41-yard punt. Early headlines, the Bengals with a win over the Vikings. Clinch the division if the Ravens lose here today. Panthers clinch the berth with a win over the Saints. And congratulations to Peyton. Touchdown pass number 51 in all-time NFL record.
Yeah, tremendous year by him and the football team. And they do it with their brains, and of course they do it with talent.
Hit up, left open, but 2 Patriots are closing in a hurry, including Arrington and Spikes. No gain.
Got to definitely, like you said, Jim, in the last drive, sense of urgency, be quick, don't waste time.
Boy, Arrington, who was knocked out of the game on the last drive, he's able to return in a hurry. 2nd and 10. And Flacco's got an open target. It's Torrey Smith for a first down at the 49. It's big separation here, Phil.
Yeah, it is. You got to honor the speed deep down the field when you're playing Torrey Smith. Aqib Talib knows they need scores. He's not going to give up the easy big play.
Gain of 17, and Flacco looking longer down the field and incomplete. Harmon was back there kind of cutting off the over-the-shoulder catch.
Yeah, not much. Trying to make the perfect throw, and Joe Flacco safe, high. Good coverage down the field by Aqib Talib. And Harmon getting there as a safety.
Yep. I think Smith felt the presence of Harmon coming in over the top. So it's a 2nd and 10. Pump fake, and now the throw. And it's ruled.
Wow.
And out of bounds. Brown.
The rhythm is just not there. Jumps. Yeah, just didn't get me. He just mistimed the jump. So he went up, jumped so high, not able to get his feet down. Marlon Brown, a lot of times as a wide receiver, he is used as the blocker to help the offensive line. Does a lot of little things to give Joe Flacco more time to throw.
3rd down and 10. And Flacco looking for Brown again, and it's batted away. 2 defenders in the area, Arrington and Harmon. Of course, they'll go for it here on 4th down.
Yeah, they got the perfect coverage on for this play. They have a defender inside, one outside, nowhere for Joe Flacco to throw it, and you got to go for it here on 4th down.
They've missed out on 2 4th down attempts in this second half. On a 4th and 3 and on a 4th and 1. Now here they are, 4th and 10. Flacco. He's got Hightower chasing him down, flings it down the field, and Pittman not able to grab it, incomplete. That's Jamie Collins defending.
Good pressure up front makes Joe Flacco get out of the pocket. The Patriots not intended just sitting back. They show the blitz. Hightower makes him move and not able to make the throw down the field.
So once again, the Ravens turn it over on downs.
Just good coverage. You look down there, down the field, across the field. The one thing that kind of goes unnoticed about this Patriots defense, probably the strength of their defense, is they can play man-to-man coverage against all those wide receivers and do it well.
Just 6:37 to play. And Ridley gets the call. He's able to carry it for 3. I mentioned now 62 total second half yards by the Patriots.
Hey, you look at this defense today, yeah, they were fooled a little bit early with the formations, having a hard time getting close to those receivers for the Patriots. But the big pass interference, they had one completely blown assignment, led to 2 scores.
2nd and 7 inside 6 minutes. And Ridley once again breaking tackles, falls forward for a first down.
Some run by Stephen Ridley.
For those of you expecting to see 60 minutes, you're watching the NFL on CBS, the Patriots and the Ravens. Jim Nantz and Phil Simms here in Baltimore. 60 minutes will be seen in its entirety immediately following the game, except on the West Coast.
Stephen Ridley is fresh, Jim. Where'd they run the football last time? Behind their toughest offensive lineman, Logan Mankins, the left tackle. And the hard running got him a first down.
Ridley. Gain of 1, and Coach Belichick showing a lot of confidence in Ridley, who again paid the price and set out some games because he couldn't hold on to the football, but getting the carries here at an important time.
You see how many, if he had a third arm, he'd put it around that football. He has got both ends covered, close to the body. He understands the situation. That was a good job by him.
Suggs on the sideline, 2nd and 8. Blunt, the ball carrier, getting outside, and within 1 of a first. Third down, 3rd and 1 on the way.
Yeah, this is one of the situation right here. If they can stop them short of the first down marker, then John Harbaugh's got to use one of those 2 timeouts he has left.
It's Blunt. And the biggest back for the Patriots, a bruiser. Going to pick up a couple. He's going to have the first down.
Yeah, what a drive by the Patriots. Just shows you how versatile they are. You just think about Tom Brady passing the football. Here they are trying to close out the game, and they're just doing it with just toughness. That's what it is. Good running. And the offensive line, the defense knows they're going to run it, and they still have run for a couple first downs.
And Ridley back in there for 2.
You should use a timeout right here, too.
San Diego Chargers coach Mike McCoy's team goes over 500, 8-7 with the win over the Raiders. Week 17, San Diego will host Kansas City. The Raiders will host the Broncos.
And John Harbaugh decides to wait till after 2nd down to call his 2nd timeout.
Second and 8, Ridley. Again, going to carry some defenders with him and backs in for another first down.
That says it all, doesn't it, about today's game? The Patriots came in here very determined, disciplined, and just had a better start to the game.
That's twice now on this drive that Ridley has just found a way to keep chugging along, powering ahead, and driving and backing it in one time and a second time to pick up a first down.
Yeah, a lot of it has to do with because he is fresh, and I'll tell you, James Devlin, I've noticed when you watch the Patriots too, he is a very good lead blocker.
The drive has taken over 4 minutes. Blunt for 1. She'll bring it to the, well, see, maybe timeout first. Got a flag down.
After the play, personal foul, unnecessary roughness, number 21 defense. Half the distance to the goal, first down.
Lardarius Webb. That'll put the Patriots in a 1st and goal to go situation.
Well, they talked about it. We've heard it many times from the Patriots in the last couple weeks. They think they're mentally a tougher team this year than they were last year. Tom Brady said last night, we lost to the Ravens in the championship game. They were just tougher than us. I think they're about to prove something today.
Here's Blunt taken off for the end zone, and he's in for the 2nd time today. Big time block, too, by Ryan Windell, the center.
Yeah, that was a pretty good rendition of the Ray Lewis dance by Blunt. But what a way to finish it off, finish the game off. The Patriots talking about they wanted to be tougher. We saw it in that drive. That just explained it all. Running the football when everybody in the stadium knew they were going to run it, and they still got it done. Well,
the Patriots with a win here, we're going to keep chances alive for a 1 seed. Now they'll be hosting Buffalo next week. They would need to win that, and they would need the Raiders somehow to beat
the Denver
Broncos. But had they fallen here, they would have moved back behind in the seeding rank behind the Bengals. In fact, actually, Indianapolis and Cincinnati both would have been ahead. The Patriots would have slipped to 4 with a loss here in this game. Blunt has his first multi-touchdown game since early in the season 2011 for Tampa. Pittsburgh and Green Bay. Now, Green Bay's come from 10 down to tie that game at 31. But a Patriot victory here means Cincinnati's going to clinch the division, going to clinch the AFC North. It keeps Miami alive. The Dolphins, even with today's performance up at Buffalo, which was dreadful, the Dolphins will still stay alive. San Diego was alive by winning. And Pittsburgh, if it pulls off that game at Lambeau Field, would also have a chance next week. Tonight on CBS again, 60 Minutes, and the coach who's developing America's next great quarterbacks, plus The Good Wife, The Mentalist, and Elementary, tonight only CBS.
So explain this to me real quick, because that was a lot. If the Bengals win next week and the Patriots loss, would that change the seeding?
Yes, that would move the Bengals up
to 2.
Yes,
so,
absolutely.
So the Bengals, of course, that means they got to come out and play. That number 2 seed's a big deal, a week off. Buffalo showed today they whitewashed Miami. They're a capable football team.
Kobe Jones in the back of the end zone is tackled at the 3 by Bolden. And we reached the 2-minute warning. They got up early. And it's 27-7 with just 2 to play here. You see the numbers for Flacco. He threw for 208 yards in the second half, but was sacked 4 times. Tyrod Taylor is going to take the snaps here in the final 2 minutes.
That's a good decision. Take Joe Flacco out. No chance to win the football game. Don't risk injury with him. But I think the biggest thing is that Joe Flacco got the experience of playing with the brace, getting over the fact that his knee didn't feel 100%. And I think it'll give him a much better chance of playing well next week down in Cincinnati.
And again, the Ravens will go there but cannot control their own destiny because San Diego won today. Chargers are alive. The loss by the Ravens keeps Miami in the picture as well. And if Pittsburgh can pull it out at Green Bay, we'll have 4 teams for 1 spot. By the way, on the kick return, Jacoby Jones, was that back foot on the end line?
Yes.
I believe it was.
Yeah, there you go.
So it's been reviewed here inside of right at the 2-minute warning. And there's the challenge. You have to throw the challenge because you're not inside the 2 minutes. So it has to be challenged by the sideline, not a booth review.
Good call.
And by the way, among other oddities today, that late Stafford pick 6.
Baltimore was challenged that the receiver's foot was on the end line when he caught the ball.
That pick 6 thrown by Stafford led a game into overtime, which has just been won by the Giants, and the Lions have been eliminated. What a late season disaster. We'll be right back. So the Ravens challenging that their own player, in fact, had stepped out while fielding the kickoff on the back line, which would result in a touchback instead of Jacoby Jones tackled at the 3-yard line where they would have taken over. We've looked at the playoff picture a number of times, but you look at things over on that side. Carolina clinched a berth today with its big win over New Orleans. How about Seattle falling to the Arizona Cardinals today up in Seattle? Keeping Arizona in the hunt.
After review, the receiver's heel was touching the end line when he touched the ball. Therefore, it is a touchback. The ball will be placed at the 20-yard line. Baltimore is not charged with a timeout. Please reset the game clock to 2:05. Thank you.
Taylor's first snap is ugly, and it's into the end zone, and recovered by Chandler Jones for the touchdown.
Gino Grakowski moving to his left, made the football go to the right. Tyrod Taylor, no chance to pick that football up. What a job by Chandler Jones.
And Ninkovich
on the run,
unwittingly kicking it toward the end zone, and Brady loving that action. First career touchdown for Chandler Jones. He goes from bad to worse for John Harbaugh's team today. They only lost once at home this year. Till today. So you start looking at the AFC playoff picture, and one thing you could say is all these teams now that are going to be playing for that one playoff spot, again assuming Pittsburgh goes on and finishes this with a win up at Lambeau Field. Pittsburgh, you got Miami, you got Baltimore, and you got San Diego. They all need kind of some help from other teams to get into the playoffs. The only team that doesn't have anything to play for next week really is Kansas City. It's locked in as the number 5 seed, win or lose next week.
Play ball. Let's go. You can't know, what happens here. Just all you can do is go out, control your own destiny by winning. And, I think there's going to be a lot to learn here today for the Baltimore Ravens. What they did, all the mistakes. Joe Flacco, like I said once, he's got some experience under him. I think they'll put a much better showing next week.
As you take a look at the AFC playoff picture, we're going to give the win here to the Patriots. This just in from Ethan Cooperson, who keeps us up to date on all these different configurations and stats and everything. If San Diego wins next week, Miami is in with a win.
Wow.
So for the Chargers, it's gone for pretty bleak. They actually got a chance. If San Diego loses, Baltimore is in with a win next week.
Look, just looking at it right there, what you say, you gotta like Kansas City's going to San Diego. What are they playing for? Like you just said, nothing.
Yeah, let me say
they're
that
already
again.
seated.
Yeah, let me say that. I went from bleak about the Chargers. I'm talking about Miami after what happened up in Buffalo. So again, San Diego wins next week. Miami is in with a win. If San Diego loses, Baltimore is in with a win. And if San Diego wins and Baltimore and Miami lose, then the Chargers are in. That's what we know right now with still a little time on the clock up at Green Bay. Torrey Smith limping but staying on the field. 2nd and 8, and that's almost picked off by Jamie Commons, the rookie, who was a high school quarterback when he went to Southern Mississippi. He went to Southern Miss as a safety. He showed a lot of ability right there and agility.
Yeah, he just kept moving down the line. Quarterback, safety, outside linebacker, defensive end, and boy, he's really a big part of this Patriots defense over the last 5 or 6 weeks.
Torrey Smith, by the way, did limp off the field, holding his hamstring and sitting on the bench. It's a guy they're going to need next week. Tyrod Taylor is going to scramble for a first down. $25 yards on the scramble.
You know, the score is so misleading, except for that power drive at the end. Just think about this Ravens defense. Had a lot of big stops in the middle of the game, gave the offense many opportunities to get back in, and the offense just never got it done.
Timeout called by the Patriots. There's Torrey Smith. And here we are in just garbage time. And on that first down throw back at the 20, he may have tweaked the hamstring. He came over to the training staff and was holding a ham. And there you see, that is something that will be of concern this week as the Ravens get ready to go up to Cincinnati. By the way, just final. Pittsburgh over the Packers. So now the Steelers are in this wacky configuration. It's official, 4 teams for one spot next week. Tabor. Second time now he's running for a first down. Gain of 14. Incomplete, looking for Doss. We've got an update and a very busy day, complicated indeed, but JP can sort it out. New
Jim,
York.
look at what you just described.
Here we go, last play of the game right here for Green Bay. Pass falls incomplete. Pittsburgh goes on to win 38-31. What a game up in Lambeau.
And Jordy Nelson was wide open. Back to Jim Nance and Phil Simms.
And if Pittsburgh wins next week and Miami, Baltimore, and San Diego all lose, the Steelers are in the playoffs. We got a pickoff. We got a pickoff by Wilson. Wilson running down. Yanda had him for a moment. Taylor can't stop him either. And it's a second touchdown in the last 2 minutes of the game by the Patriots defense.
It's a nice catch by Tavon Wilson. Cuts in front of the receiver that time. That was a good job going in front of Marlon Brown. Does he stay in bounds all the way down the sideline?
He does indeed.
I think he does. Well, what a play. He just outfought the receiver. Brown for the football. You're going across the field. There's no excuse as a receiver to let the defensive back from behind you get in front of you enough to make that interception.
74-yard return on the interception by Tavon Wilson, the second-year man from Illinois. Gostowski's got another point on the board. Tonight on CBS begins with 60 Minutes. And again, the story about the coach developing young quarterbacks, followed by The Good Wife, The Mentalist, and Elementary tonight, only CBS.
If I was the Baltimore Ravens, after I get the kick, I would take a knee. Don't risk another play, another player.
It's going to be the largest home loss in team history. Previously, the Kansas City loss in '99 stood.
Well, this team, the Ravens, we know they won the Super Bowl last year. They had a lot of change during the offseason. They've kind of rallied and settled down. And look, I have no doubt, Jim, that next week when they go to Cincinnati, they're going to be organized and ready to go. It's still, you look at it and go, hey, we got so many opportunities. You still have to they got to like their chances.
And Gostowski and Jacoby Jones stands there with his hands on his hips. There's nothing he can do about that one. How about Matt Patricia and that defense of the Patriots? Taking their lumps, and a lot of it having to do with the fact that they have
Injuries.
not been at full strength.
No, they haven't. They've been playing a lot of people this year, and you know, they've even talked about it. I've watched it. They've slowly gotten better And, you know, they're recovering from all those injuries. The run defense, I mean, they're still practicing hard up in New England, trying to get their run defense more solid. Of course, when you lose Vince Wilfork, you're missing a big part of stopping the run, no doubt about that.
Looks like the Ravens are going to try to make some plays here.
Yeah.
Out of the shotgun. Don't quite understand why. And they'll hand it off to Bernard Scott. He's got a 9-yard run. And mercifully, that might be the last snap. You know, the Patriots had nothing but close road games before today. All their 7 previous road games had been decided by 7 points or less. Today, they blow this one open at the end and win it 41-7 on a day they seal the AFC East crown for the 5th consecutive year. Next week they'll go home. They'll play host to Buffalo. A win there would assure them of no worse than the 2 seed and a first week bye. So there you go. Denver goes into the last weekend holding on to the 1 spot. New England behind them. Cincinnati has won the AFC North today. And Indianapolis, with his victory down in Kansas City, is still right now at the 4 position. Chiefs locked in at a 5. And in the hunt, you can look at those 4 teams. They all have a shot next week. They all have some sort of crazy kind of machination here of a win on their own and help elsewhere. No one goes into the weekend saying, hey, we win, we're in.
That's right. Going to be an exciting weekend next week.
Where are you going to be?
I don't know.
It's
Wherever you are.
All right. I'll look forward to it. Merry Christmas to you in the meantime,
Merry
my friend.
Christmas to you.
And Diana and the family. 60 Minutes, The Good Wife, The Mentalist, and Elementary coming up tonight on CBS. Happy holidays, everybody. For Phil Simms, Jim Nance saying so long from Baltimore. The Patriots win it 41-7. You've been watching the NFL on CBS.